Hey guys, it's Kelsey. I'm back with another scrapbooking process video, and today we have a challenge from the Scraptacular Cropping Club, and it was a sketch challenge. So here's the sketch we had to use. I really liked the big square piece with the vertical and horizontal bits coming out, and this is the final page using this kit. I know there's one more you'll see on Wednesday that I made before this layout, but this is the final page I'm making with this collection, and so I'm really trying to get all of the things used up. So it was kind of an extra challenge to use a sketch with this, but I knew with the scraps I had left, I could really kind of do the whole big square background layer with vertical and horizontal bits. I really like working that way anyways, so I do have the info card from the 12 by 12 here with all of the pattern papers. I really want to use that as my horizontal layer. And then I have a decent chunk of the green polka dot that I'm thinking I will kind of gut and stretch on either side of that horizontal piece to look like a large square layer. So then all I really need to focus on is one good vertical bit, and I kind of feel like that will finish out my sketch portion, and then from there I'm really going to just pile on the scraps around my photo and just try to have a lot of fun with it. This is another page this month that I kind of felt got a little chaotic because of all the pattern and all the color. But I just wanted to have fun with this one. This is another layout from 2011 when I was in college with Billy when he was in the Guide Dog Foundation. He actually has a Facebook page. If I remember, I'll link it in the description for anybody who's interested. It's a little cringy because, again, I made it when I was in college back in 2011. But I kind of like wrote it as if I was Billy and posted all his pictures and all of his progress and things that we did every day. For anyone who wanted to follow Billy's progress in the Guide Dog Foundation. So it has not been active in a very, very, very long time, but I do love looking back on it and just seeing kind of the progress and life at that time with Billy, because honestly, I didn't update my own Facebook page that often. It was mostly just sharing Billy because I kind of felt like Billy and school was my life at that point. And Billy is way more fun to document. So this is one of the photos I took of my laptop. You can't see the screen, but it's on Billy's Facebook page. And I kind of put Billy in my chair to take a little picture of him posed in front of the computer as if he was updating his status. So that's all this page is just documenting that he has a Facebook page, and I thought the photo was funny and he just looks super cute there. I think he's 3 months in that photo. So it's not a super complicated like theme, so I'm really just having fun with getting all these scraps piled on. Um, There's really no method to the madness. I am just layering up all the scraps and trying my best to keep the same colors apart from each other. So I did trim my photo into a 4x4, matted it on a scrap of white, and then I layered up a solid green, a scrap of the pink polka dot, the navy gingham, and then I think I'm adding a scrap of the mustard and white stripe. And I just go from there. Like, I just have all of my scraps color coded to the left there, and I'm just pulling from each pile, trying to alternate all of the colors. I know that because I'm using this info sheet from Felicity Jane with all of the pattern papers on it, all the colors are already on here. So I don't have to really worry about that. This is where I gutted that green piece to kind of stretch behind that horizontal piece to make it look more square. So this is where you can kind of see that sketch coming into play. I'm kind of thinking I pulled in just some white 12 by 12 from my stash, and now I'm piling everything on top of it. So I have that horizontal piece, the square green layer. I haven't quite figured out what piece I want to use as my horizontal layer yet, but I have all of these pieces on the side to work with, so I'm not too worried about getting that done. I know it'll get done at some point. I do have some skinny scraps here that I thought would be nice to layer up behind this horizontal layer, just so it wasn't running straight onto the white background. So I'm kind of doing a tearing technique with some of them. I'm just layering up the mustard grid and the white polka dot, or the white and pink polka dot, to create this horizontal layer behind the info card. it just takes me a minute because I'm trying to tear certain pieces and get them glued to the right areas. So I'm doing my best to glue the stuff down without shifting it too much because I really like where everything is laying. So I'm trying to glue things down without having to re-pick everything back up. But the back of this mustard grid is that pink polka dot, and you'll kind of see I just now realized that and that I wanted to use both of them. So it took me a minute to kind of figure out that yes, I want to use both. I'm going to tear a piece of this and then just layer it up like that. So I'm trying to figure out, I only have a little bit of that to use, so it took me a minute to figure out how I was going to do this with the amount of paper I had, which is always a fun game to play when I get to the final layout and I'm using all the scraps. I'm excited to show you guys what I have left over at the end of the month. You still have one more page to see, but like I said earlier, I made it before this one, so I'm really trying hard to get as much as I can on this one. So I think I'm almost done with the horizontal piece. You can see where I tore that, and I'm just tearing that paper even smaller so I can kind of stretch it across the page to the other side. And now I'm doing the same thing to the bottom. The biggest thing on this page, other than trying to use as many scraps as possible, is I still have plenty of pocket cards that I wanted to get used up. I had a ton to use this month, first of all, because I had the normal pocket card kit that came with this collection, but I also had the journaling pocket cards, which I really loved using, but I always kind of struggled to get all of them used up in the month because they give you so many that I was worried I for sure wouldn't get them all used up this time around. But you can see my little pile to the left there. I definitely want to get the Love Lives here on here because I love that multicolored but clean on the white background kind of sentiment. It kind of would break up all of the crazy pattern and layers that's going on. But I really also wanted to use the cards that have the multicolored stripe that say January and February. I knew if I didn't get them used up this month, I probably would never get them used up because I just wouldn't think to pull them out when I was doing January and February. So I really, really wanted to try to get them used up this month. So it's kind of also in the back of my head while I'm getting all of these layers down. But I like where everything was laying, so I'm going to go ahead and commit and glue the pieces, these pieces at least, down. I know I want to add more layers to the photo layering area, but I definitely want to get the main components of the sketch down. So I have my horizontal bits now, I have the green layer, and now I'm going back to see what else I want to layer behind the photo. I love all of these crazy layers. It's very much out of my comfort zone to do a page that's this multicolored. It's way more comfortable for me to just pick 2 colors to play with from the collection at a time. But this last page, I had too many scraps and too many colors to try to do that. So there's just gonna be a lot going on. But I do like where the photo is placed. I like it in this kind of lower right-hand quadrant of the page. It's just figuring out how many more pieces of these scraps I can get used up. This is the back of the mustard and white stripe paper, and I really liked the house sentiment, and I thought if I was going to use the Love Lives Here sentiment, it would make sense to have some houses. This was in my apartment, so for all intents and purposes, this is home for the semester, so I thought using the houses on this page would make sense. So I just trimmed it into a square. It was kind of a weird shape from how I gutted it from the last page. But this is going to be the vertical element from the sketch. And I really like that. I like that it's not as crazy of a pattern because it has a white base, but it does pull in all of the colors that I'm dragging in through all of these scraps. So now I'm pretty comfortable with this satisfying the sketch. I knew it would get off track a little bit just because I was trying to stash bust and get all of these scraps used up. But I really try to keep at least the bones of the page similar to what the sketch was. But now that I have that down, I'm really liking this. Now it's just, again, there's a lot of just staring at scraps during this process. Trying to figure out what all I can use. So I'm just staring and trying to see what else I can add. I definitely want to branch out a little bit more horizontally. So I'm trying to see what scraps I want to use for that. I'm thinking maybe this pink plaid or this mustard solid. And then I think I kind of realize here soon that I really want to try to use up more pocket cards. So I do have this scrap of this green and white grid that I really like because it is a more subtle pattern even though it's a really tight grid. So I do add that as a horizontal layer that I think breaks up some of the intense color that's going on in some of the other layers. So I did add that. I also really like that there's a torn edge at the bottom of that layer, so it kind of plays off of the torn edges I did on a couple of the other bits. But yeah, I committed and added that. And then this is where I'm pretty sure I go in and try to use the pocket cards. So I have the Love Lives here. I'm pulling in everything really to figure out how I want to finish this page. So I have my heart chipboard pieces. I have my sticker sheet. I really want to use all of the sticker sheet. So I'm layering up, I think, 3 stickers to create a little cluster. I've been dying to use this little house plant. It's so cute. And again, since we're at home, I kind of feel like it's appropriate for a home page just because it's a houseplant. So I did layer the houseplant on top of the green circle label, and then I'm popping the homemade word up on some foam to layer on top of that, which I really like. So that's going to be a little cluster to the bottom right-hand corner of my photo, and I just think that's precious. That might be my favorite little cluster I've made all month, and it's so simple, but I just, something about that house plant is just super adorable. So that's gonna be my little initial cluster down there. It's so cute. There are a couple other stickers still on the sticker sheet, but I end up finding places for them on other pages because I kind of did the same thing I did last time I used Felicity Jane, and went back to some of the earlier pages that I kind of kept more simple because I was trying to stretch product, and went back and added some leftovers now that I have finished everything. So spoiler alert, they get used up. But yeah, this is where I go in with those 2 pocket cards. I was so happy to get these used up. Because of this green grid horizontal layer I had just added, it's actually the perfect height and width to cover the words. I knew I did not want the January and February words to show because this was in September, I think. But I definitely loved the color blocking, and because it's a multicolor page, I really wanted to use these multicolored items. So I'm really, really happy I got both those pocket cards used up. And I still really want to use the Love Lives Here pocket card too. I just haven't quite figured out where it's going to go. But I really like having those extra layers branching out horizontally, and now I'm trying to figure out if I need to go up vertically again at all. I really like this pink and white plaid, so I'm really trying to find a way to use that. I end up having to trim it into 2 pieces, and then I end up stacking it kind of top and bottom of all of this to make it look like a bigger square layer kind of. But I really like how that looks too, so I'm just adding that. And then I think all of my paper layers are done. I know this is a lot. The kind of process of the final page is usually just a lot because it's just a lot of gutting and sandwiching tiny scraps to create my layers. But I think we're almost done. And then I get to figure out how I'm going to finish this mess. I kept stopping and looking at this page and just seeing like, this looks crazy. But in a really fun way. So we're just going to keep going. This page is crazy. It's fine. You can have crazy pages occasionally. But I did want to go in and add a glassine bag and a doily just for some white. It adds those extra layers, but it kind of breaks up some of the color a little bit. And there is so many colors and patterns going on here that the big chunk of green polka dot almost looked too plain. So I just want to add a little bit up there. So I did add that as another layery piece. And now I'm trimming this little pocket card into a banner. to kind of serve as a subtitle. So I'm tucking that in. And that also accentuates the horizontal layers too, which is really nice. So I love that. I got the lives here used up. And now I'm officially gluing down all of the layers, which is how you know I'm usually mostly done. And then I definitely still need a title and I need finishing embellishment. But the rest of it usually goes really fast. I usually spend so much time on these final pages with all of this crazy layering. There's a lot of the details in the paper, so I kind of feel in it when I get to the final embellishing, I don't have to do too much because there's already so much. I did, because I am on white cardstock, which I hardly ever am, I thought it would be a really nice opportunity to pull in these Heidi epoxy alphas from Felicity Jane. I am absolutely obsessed with this font and I love epoxy alphas. There's something so satisfying about the shiny glossiness of them and the texture. But because they're epoxy, unless they're on white, it can be kind of hard to see them. So I am loving the fact that I'm on white cardstock. I can finally use these mustardy alphas again. I'm just calling this status update. I just think that's really cute because he's sitting in front of the computer and the kind of point of this page is about his Facebook page. So I thought that was a really cute title. And it also brought some yellow up there, which again is really nice. And I'm really happy I got some Felicity Jane alphas actually used this month because I am hoarding the ones that came in this collection. So there are 6 periods that come on the sticker sheet, so I decided to use those as my enamel dots, just to add that shiny epoxy texture and that yellow color in other areas. So again, it needs to be on the white so you can really see it well. So I'm going to do it a little cluster up to the left there. Do a little cluster of 3, and then on the bottom I'm going to do a little cluster of 3, but that way that epoxy yellow is in 3 different areas, which is nice. And then I definitely need to do a little bit of journaling so I can actually talk about the Facebook page. And then I definitely want to go in with the chipboard heart stickers because I still have like half a sheet of those. And so I want to definitely get them on this page too. So I do have 2 of those word chipboard pieces left, and the homebody one just made a lot of sense because again, we're at home, and pretty much if we're not at school or at a guide dog meeting or at a horseman's club, I'm pretty much always in my apartment studying. So I'm definitely a homebody. Even now I'm a homebody. If I'm not at work or with family, I am at home. So before I get to the journaling, though, I kind of felt like it weirds me out using white cardstock. So I thought it would really help bring everything together if I kind of did some sketchy lines around the outside. So I'm taking the green pen that I'm going to use for my journaling and just doing a ruler to do multiple lines around each side of the page just to kind of create this frame. And I love how it looks. This green pen is really trying to die, so I end up switching to another green pen and doing it again before I do my journaling. But I really love how it looks. Even the way the pen is trying to die almost makes the lines look a little extra sketchy, and I think it kind of gives a really cool look. So you'll kind of see me do 3 lines on each side with the dying pen, and then I'll switch pens and do my journaling and these lines again. But I love this technique, especially if your page is just looking a little unfinished or a little too plain, or you have a solid background and you're used to working with patterns like me. It really helps me to do something on the solid background to make it a little bit more interesting. So I love the whole doodling around the outside, sketching around the outside, inking around the outside, any of those things. My journaling just says Billy has his own Facebook page where his friends can follow his GDF progress. GDF stands for the Guide Dog Foundation. So on a lot of these pages, I will probably just say GDF because we all know that that is the shortened version of the program, but I'm trying to remember to tell you guys what it means so it's not confusing. And then again, going around the outside a second time with my green pen that actually works better. I'm don't want to go over these pattern paper layers here. I just thought it would look too messy, so I'm trying to stop these green lines before I go over those paper bits. But I think we're almost done. I need to go in with my chipboard hearts, and then I think we're good. So because, again, this is a multicolored page, I'm really going to try to use every color of heart. So I'm thinking with this cute little houseplant cluster that already has the greens, I'll add some pinks, especially because it's going onto the navy gingham and yellow stripe background. And then I'm kind of going and adding the other two colors in the other clusters. So that was a lot, but I had a lot of fun with this page. Here are the close-ups. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.